Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and we're going to be starting off international break, so I suppose there's relevancy to it, but Dutch coach Danny Blind, dad of Daley Blind and right-hand man of Louis van Gaal. So there's obviously, I would say, some connection to the frustration that the Dutch fans and people are feeling around the treatment of Donny van de Beek, but it's basically come out and said that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not good enough. What is the identity of Manchester United under Solskjaer? What is Solskjaer's plan? Because nobody can really see one. So it's very damning, and I think it's look, I wouldn't say Dutch assistant coach slamming Solskjaer's tactics is something that's really going to resonate hugely across the world. But what it does do, it adds another layer to what lots of people are saying already. And I certainly think you've got to look at where this is coming from. And I think there's a big frustration about the lack of use of Donny van de Beek. Also going to be talking about Jesse Lingard, Jadon Sancho's performance last night, and a bit about Donny van de Beek to Barcelona. Interestingly about Jadon Sancho, I heard Roy Keane after the game saying that, look, the expectations at Manchester United are bigger. Basically, it's, at Manchester United, you've got to perform. It's a harder job than Dortmund. That would work, Roy, if we weren't continually picking McFred in our midfield. So I don't think you can talk about standards or stepping up at Manchester United when the standards at the moment are pretty abysmal. So, we'll talk about Sancho a little bit at the moment because I thought he did play well last night. But also, big shout out to the man, one Tyson Fury. There's only one Tyson Fury. What a fight that was. Thanks if you did tune in for the watch along. I didn't get to bed till 6, but what a fight. What a fight. And what a champion. Absolutely fantastic. Loved it. And if you've not watched it, I'm going to watch it again. It was just brilliant. Absolutely superb. But let's talk about these quotes from Daley Blind then. These are direct quotes about what he said. He said, what is the identity of this Manchester United team? What is his plan? It is exactly that is missing with Solskjaer. There is no tactical plan. His team are not able to put pressure on their opponents like Manchester City. It does not always have to be full pressing, but we don't see any of it. Everything in the United team is based on the individual qualities of players. They have those qualities and it often gets a result for them, but it is never a team result. It has not been looking good in a number of matches. And I think first of all, as we dissect that, the reason I found these quotes from Danny Blind, the assistant coach of Holland and also Netherlands, and also the father of Daley Blind, is that what he's basically saying there is that United have got no tactical plan and that Solskjaer is relying on moments. He's relying on individual moments. And it will work when you've got your Rashfords, your Brunos, your Pogbas, your Ronaldos, your Cavani's, your Greenwoods. You will win games. And he said, look, they do win games, but it's never a team effort. It's always individual moments. And you know what? All I would say about this is that this is another person publicly putting out there what a lot of people suspect anyway. We've had the hint from ex-players. We've had more than a hint from fans and the media that Solskjaer as a tactical coach is being exposed and he's getting away with it on individualism. That's why we're called Moments FC. Some people might not like this, but a lot of people, whether it's fans, media, ex-players, current coaches, see it for what it is. United will get top 4 and United can finish second place. But for the last year, especially into this season, there is no style of play. There is no tactical plan that's viably working. And what it basically is, counter-attacking, structure and individualism. And that's what it is. And you do expect more of that for Manchester United. Daley Blind for CDM, says Justin Lawson. Well, let's read what more his dad said. He added, after they took the lead against Everton, they started to wait for Everton to come into their own half. They want to score on the counter-attack. That's not good enough for a club like Manchester United. And I think it's true. United struggle to be dominant, and that is their whole problem, says Danny Blind. And he's right. Against Everton, we played very, very well. We get the goal, and then we sort of let the game open up a little bit because we want to hit Everton on the counter because that's what Ollie wants to do from bloody minute 1. And we should have beaten Everton. There was good enough performances in that game, and we didn't beat Everton because we did allow ourselves just to sit back a little bit, and then obviously Everton score, and United typically drop their head. The next thing you see is how they struggle to turn the game around when Everton equalise. They hardly hardly created any chances. The results are not good. He lost against Young Boys, against West Ham in the Cup, against Aston Villa, and they were very lucky against Villarreal because of Ronaldo's quality. Against Everton, another draw, and they only just got away with that result. It has to improve, and it can improve. We cannot say that Solskjaer has had a long career at the top level as a manager before United. Yes, he was a champion in Norway, but that is a different level. I know why he gets more time than other coaches. He is a child of the club. And look, you know what? What is Danny Blind to Manchester United? Absolutely nothing. But these quotes are hitting the point of what many of you are saying. Right on the bullseye. Is it, individualism, relying on, moments FC, no tactical plan, looking to try and go on the counter-attack. He's getting a long time in the job because he used to play for the club. He's getting more time than other people would do. He scored that legendary goal in '99, which helped him win the Champions League, says Danny Blind, but all that is not enough for what is being produced right now. He also spoke about Ronaldo and said, you're not going to change Cristiano Ronaldo anymore in his thinking and his approach to the game. So Solskjaer will have to come up with a playing style for his team where Cristiano can still flourish and the team can still put their opponent under pressure. Ronaldo has come back and scored important goals, but his presence in the team requires a different way of thinking tactically. Normally you would expect the striker to be the first man to chase the defenders of the opposition. Basically, Ronaldo's not going to do that. They're not only way behind in the Premier League, but they have lost more games than you would expect. And look, very, very, very damning, slamming comments from Danny Blind there about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And many of you would say he's probably hit the nail on the head in everything that he has said there. And look, I would say probably has done. We are a tacticless team. We don't have a vision. We don't have an identity. And we are very much set up with that back six, McTominay and Fred in front of a back four, to make it hard for teams to score, to sit a little deep and then hit them on the break with the moments of a Ronaldo or a Bruno or a Rashford or a Greenwood. That's how United set up. People don't like this back six thing, but it's a back six because McTominay and Fred really aren't very attacking. So they're there to... they're there. The reason I call it as a back six is not that we're parking the bus with a back six, but we may as well be a back six because McTominay and Fred are there to break up the play. They're not there to be expansive or run the midfield. So, you're relying on the individualism of the front four and the back six to try and keep it compact and hit on the break. That's what it is. The interesting thing I would say is, why is Danny Blind coming out with this? And I don't actually know. I don't know why Danny Blind has done an article. He is the father of Daley Blind. Daley Blind hasn't played for United for quite a while. He's the assistant coach of the Netherlands with Louis van Gaal. And I think that's where I suspect the truth is here. Because he's hit the nail on the head so many times. It's absolutely spot on. The interview really is absolutely spot on. And I would say it's positive anyway. Obviously, I think some people will say, well, shut up, Danny Blind, what do you know? But I think he obviously knows quite a lot. I think he's obviously watched quite a lot of United. And he, like I say, he has, ticked a lot of boxes on the problems at United. For me, there's a positive here. The positive is that this is another story that United fans and the media and Ollie will become aware of. And a lot of people are saying this now. And, we were talking last night about Ollie having to tactically change. He's got to tactically change. Everybody's on his back. Everybody's calling him out. There's no positivity around the way United have started this season, apart from individual moments like De Gea, Ronaldo and a few others at times. And there's certainly very little praise for the way he's playing football. He's got to change it. And I would say that this article from Danny Blind really just emphasises again that the world's woken up to the fact that, yeah, Ollie's done a good job, but he's doing it on, very basic approach to football, and he's got to change it, otherwise time will run out because patience is running out. I think we all expect United can go and win 5 of their next 6, but what happens in game 7? Do we lose a couple of games again and then reset again? I think Danny Blind's right. If Ollie wasn't a child of the club with the history that he has, I think he'd be under a lot more pressure. So I think that there is a positive that this conversation is out there in the public arena, because I think for many of you, you've been quite frustrated over the last calendar year where United get second place and the media and ex-players are living up Ollie's arse saying, it's a great job what he's achieved, where a lot of you have been saying, yeah, but the football's not been good. We've been grinding out results. It's not been, it's been about individualism. And I think that now that conversation is hitting ex-players, it's hitting the media, that can only be stopped if he starts getting praised for playing good football, which means he's got to play good football. Otherwise, he's going to get this criticism. So I think that's a positive thing. Where do I think this is coming from? I don't think people understand the utter frustration and disappointment with what's happened with Donny van der Beek. The Dutch are very proud of their footballing heritage. They're very proud of Ajax, and they're very proud of players who move on from the Netherlands and go and play in Serie A, in the Premier League, in La Liga. But especially the Premier League, because the Premier League is the #1 league in the world. It's the #1 watch league in the world. So when De Jong goes to Barcelona, or Memphis Depay, who goes from France to Barcelona, and De Ligt's playing in Italy, Donny van der Beek is the real, with Van Dijk, the player, and there's a couple of others, of course, but Van der Beek going to Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world in the Premier League. This was a really exciting move. Remember the letter that Van der Sar, the CEO of Ajax, said about looking after him, and they were very proud to be passing him over to Manchester United. I think it's a very different national unity around the football team in the Netherlands to what it is in England. They feel it collectively, not just as Ajax fans, but as a collective. They're very frustrated about what's happened to Donny van der Beek. There is a general consensus that it's right that he's not being picked, but there's a real frustration about why he's not being picked, and that is firmly on the shoulders of Manchester United and therefore Solskjaer. If you're good and stubborn and then good, but if you're terrible and stubborn, you just look like a fool, says La Joya. Oli is not good and stubborn. Oli won't change. And there was someone who used to be on this channel who, on the whole, I didn't agree with, but he had a phrase that's prominent now. Okay, says Joshua Bauer. So yeah, we're not going to mention them. We don't do shout outs for that sort of stuff, because I think they've also spewed a load of shit as well. Hi Mark, do you think our treatment with players like Van der Beek, Sancho not settling, and other young recruits like Ahmad and Palestri will spoil the club name going forward and hamper future transfers? No, I don't agree with this, Pranay. I really don't. I don't subscribe to this, that United won't sign players because people won't want to come to United. Footballers are very vain. Footballers believe, like managers, that they can be the difference. Footballers are always going to back themselves because they back themselves all the way through their career to get where they are. Footballers are not going to stop coming to Manchester United. But I do think that this, very interesting article from Danny Blind, where I think many of us would admit he's hit the nail on the head with a lot of what he said about relying on poor tactics, moments of individualism, counter-attacking football. It's not the way United should be playing, and Solskjaer's getting away with it because of his history at the club. I'd say there's elements of truth in that from Danny Blind, but I look at it and I go, why? And I think, I might be completely wrong, but I think he's doing this because, the Dutch are not a superpower of world football when it comes to their national team. They're a good team, but they're not a superpower. They haven't got an abundance of players like England or Germany or France have. And Donny van der Beek 2 years ago was a player that was being spoken about as one of the best midfielders in Europe, young midfielders. They've just lost him. And they've not lost him to injury, they've just completely lost him. They've lost his development, they've lost him in the Dutch side, because for the last 2 years, since this dream move to Manchester United that most Dutch people were very excited about. If Donny van der Beek's going to play for Man United, he's going to fulfil that potential he's shown at Ajax and go to another level, which is going to benefit the Dutch national side. What's happening with Donny van der Beek and the Dutch national side? He's not in it because he can't get game time for Manchester United. So I think that there is definitely a bitterness coming out here from the Dutch. Justifiably, many would say, but I think that the reason Danny Blind, as an assistant coach of the national team, has come out and slammed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United, and maybe rightly, is because they are not getting the Donny van der Beek that they want playing for the Dutch national side. They're not getting any Donny van der Beek playing for the national side because he's not playing any football. So I think that's where it's coming from. I think it's a real frustration and anger that they look at United, they see the midfield United are picking, and they don't see Donny van der Beek getting any minutes, and then they see the bad results, and they're like, they will know about Donny van der Beek as well. They'll know what sort of a player he is, and they'll watch the way United are playing, and they'll be like, this is a bloody joke. If you're Man City or Chelsea, okay, you're winning things, maybe it's hard for Donny, but if you're Man United playing the way they're playing, and they're not even picking him, and therefore we can't pick him for the national team, I think it's just a level of frustration. The fact that these articles are coming out now means that people are finally starting to see that some fans saw earlier with Ollie, says Aditya, I think you're spot on. And Mark, will Ollie really have a chance to win trophies this season? Also, it may be a long time since Ronaldo will finish without a single trophy. Your thoughts, says Jude. I think it's a decade since Ronaldo finished a season without a trophy. But Ronaldo probably needs to get used to it, really, because if you look at the reality, the harsh reality, I was talking about this on the England watch-along last night on That's Football. We were talking about the Ballon d'Or contenders, and I said I think Messi's going to win it because of reputation. But I would probably give it to Lewandowski. Ronaldo had a good season for Juventus, but he was playing for a team that nobody really respects. Like, Juventus are not a team that's won Serie A, and I mean, obviously Juventus are very respected, but I mean in relation to world football, at the moment, Juventus didn't win Serie A and they didn't make any impact in the Champions League. Ronaldo was still the top scorer in that league, but he is in the shortlist for the Ballon d'Or, but he's got no chance of winning it. And I think that this is going to become a problem for Ronaldo, because the last year he wasted... he could, if Ronaldo had been at, I don't know, Bayern Munich or PSG or Man City or Chelsea last year, he probably would have won the Ballon d'Or because he would have scored loads of goals. Ronaldo's career choices have been absolutely superb, but at the moment, they're looking a little bit dubious. The Juventus last season deprived him of being a Ballon d'Or contender, even though he scored a lot of goals. And the move to Manchester United is probably going to deprive him of a Ballon d'Or again, because how do you win a Ballon d'Or in a team that's fighting for fourth? So I don't think... look, Messi's going to keep contending for Ballon d'Ors. It doesn't really matter how well PSG perform. PSG are going to hit at least the quarterfinals of the Champions League, which keeps Messi in the public eye with people like Neymar and the team that they've got. Messi's going to contend for the Ballon d'Or. Can you say that about United with Ronaldo at the moment? I think Ronaldo, in the current United setup, is going to struggle to compete for the Ballon d'Or, for trophies and golden boots, because we're not playing that level of football that's going to really help Ronaldo out. Barry says, do you think Ronaldo would leave at the end of the season if we don't win anything? I said it a few weeks ago. I don't think there's any concern to think that Ronaldo will leave United, but I also wouldn't be blind to the fact that Ronaldo is, he's got a short career left. He was impatient in his early United career. He wanted to win things and then he wanted to get to Madrid. I can't see him in his latter career thinking, you know what, I'm here just to make the money. I think he's here still to win things. And I think that Ronaldo, if United underperform, he will become increasingly frustrated. Look at the Juventus situation. He forced himself out of Juventus because it was clearly not going to be a good season for him in Turin. And he wanted to get out, and he made sure he got out. I don't think he's going to be forcing a move from United. I think he's very happy at United, but he's probably becoming more and more awake to the realities of what you have known for quite a while, that you scratch the surface of this United football club, and it's a bit of a mess from top to bottom. And it starts at the top, and it like all shit, trickles downhill. You said last year if Ollie keeps playing McFred, you'd be Ollie out. Have you changed your opinion since last season, Steve Atherton? Thanks for the super chat, Steve. It would probably assist you if you watched more shows, because we're going over old ground here, and I think that some people use these statements as absolutes. What I basically said is that if Ollie keeps picking McFred this season, then ultimately I think I will end up being Ollie out. Yes, and I'm not going to change that opinion. I'll be Ollie out when I'm Ollie out, and I'll tell you when I'm Ollie out. And like Danny Blinn said in that article, he said, look, now's not the time to sack Solskjaer, but there definitely needs to be improvement. And I would agree with that. I feel that there is still a story to be written. And look, it wouldn't surprise me if we went and won our next 4 Premier League games, in which case you're beating Liverpool, Man City, Leicester and Spurs. But I think that this next month, starting with next Saturday, 6 days, bring it on, against Leicester on Saturday afternoon, this is where it starts. We know we've got Rashford back. I sense that the international break will breathe some life into that team. We know Ollie's a very good manager when he's under pressure. I'm expecting a bounce. I really am. Look at the players that we've got. But ultimately, I think that picking McTominay and Fred is disgusting. But, it would be naive of me. Well, it's up to me. But it would be naive of me to say he's picking McTominay and Fred, but we're grinding out results, so let's sack him. You're not going to sack a manager who's 2 points off the top of the league and still in the Champions League. There are certain things that, regardless of whether you want to sack this manager or any other manager, it's very clear that to sack a manager, there needs to be certain things ticked. The players have turned against them. We're out of the top 4 race. We're out of the Champions League again. you know, and I don't think we're at that point yet. But I cannot stand McTominay and Fred, and I'm actually expecting to see the end of them. Well, we'll see the end of them against Leicester because Fred won't play. I don't want to see them play together again. I don't mind individuals playing. I don't mind if he goes McTominay and Pogba or Fred and Pogba or whatever. I don't want to see those two play again. I think they've been a massive reason to why we've had a shit start to the season. Messi deserves it this year, says Daniel Kirk. I think Lewandowski deserves it, but you know, we're not going to get into that. It's the United stand. Let me just change the story anyway, because there was a little bit of sort of news coming in yesterday on Donny van de Beek, another Dutch connection. I mean, he's still manager at Barcelona, Ronald Koeman. I don't know how, but apparently he would like to take Donny van de Beek to Barcelona. Wouldn't surprise me. I don't know where Barcelona would get the money from. Maybe they're looking at a loan deal. But look, it wouldn't surprise me if Donny went to Barcelona. We know Real Madrid really liked him at one point. I think there'll be a lot of teams looking at Donny. We know a lot of teams in Italy are looking at him. I mean, the thing about Donny van de Beek is there is no shortage of people looking to buy Donny van de Beek from Manchester United. Absolutely not. You know, you can speak to Romano, you can look at the papers. The reality is there's a huge amount of interest in Donny van de Beek, and lots of clubs would like him. It's getting to that point with me now where I wish he had left in the summer, because I just think he's been absolutely wasted, and I feel for a lad whose career is, I mean, you know, he's not even been injured. It's like he's had a career-threatening injury. He's barely played any football for 2 years. It's shocking behaviour by United, and he needs to get out. But there's loads of clubs that would want him. But as I said a few days ago, Ollie will probably not let him go in January and then not play him because he's thinking, what if I get an injury crisis? So I don't know. I'm tired of getting into this conversation. I mean, look, I heard somebody said to me the other day, the reason Donny van de Beek isn't playing for United is because he's not defensively disciplined enough to play in the McTominay or Fred role, and neither's Pogba, and that's why Ollie goes with McTominay and Fred. And I went, hold on a minute. It's like what Roy Keane said about Jadon Sancho, and you know how Sancho has had a slow start, but the standards are bigger at United. I mean, that's a hypothetical correct answer, but are we not drawn to the fact that we are picking McTominay and Fred in our midfield? You're telling me that McTominay or Fred are a better holding midfielder than Donny van de Beek or Pogba? I don't think it's that cut and dry. And people will say, well, Donny's not number 6 and Pogba's not number six. And I agree. I certainly wouldn't play them together. But I think you can play Donny with Matic. You can play Pogba with Fred. Fred and McTominay over Pogba or Donny, I don't think that's a good idea when you're playing two. You could definitely play Donny with Fred or Donny with McTominay. Of course you could. And also, I just don't think McTominay or Fred are actually very good. As I've said before, I don't think either of them are better tacklers. I don't think either of them pick up the runners. I don't think either of them are better passers of the ball. So I just don't agree with this whole, the reason Donny doesn't get picked is because the only position in that team is the Bruno team. I mean, basically the argument is because we play with a back four and then we play McTominay and Fred deep, that's why Pogba's not starting. That's why Donny's not starting, because the only place for them to play is off the left or in the Bruno role. And you're not going to drop Bruno and you're not going to drop someone off the left. It's horseshit. It's absolute horseshit, because if you had Fabinho and you had Jorginho, or you had, you know, Kante and Rodri playing as your two holding midfielders, I'd say, look, those players are streets ahead of Donny or Pogba in that position, so then they can't start. But we're playing McTominay and Fred, and I just dispute with anybody that Pogba or Donny can't do a better job than one of those two in a two. And I think they, you know, Donny would definitely like to be given the opportunity to do it. Mark, how much could United realistically charge for Van der Beek, seeing as he hasn't played at all and might have to take a while to get up to speed and is rusty, says Uber Melon? I think they'll probably get their money back, 35 million. I do. But I don't think it will actually happen until the summer, if I'm honest with you. There's also a story about Newcastle and Lingard. I mean, to be honest with you, with Newcastle stuff, I thought the Martial story yesterday morning was very interesting. But I think with Lingard and Newcastle, I don't think Lingard wants to leave United. I'll tell you what, I thought Jesse was very disappointing in the game last night. I watched the Andorra game and, you know, not just because he didn't score, but in a game like that against Andorra, you know, so much space in and around the edge of the box. I really thought Jesse would, you know, have a big game, and I thought he was very, very, very quiet, which is nothing against Jesse at all. But I think it, for me, with Lingard, my eyes are wide open. He's a bench player at United. He's not a starter, and think Jesse needs to open his eyes up to that. And you're not a first team player, mate. You don't grab older games the way a Foden does, or a Bruno does, or a Pogba does. And that's the quality of player that needs to play in the first team for United. So I think Jesse wants to stay at United. I've said it before, but he needs to do it with eyes wide open that he's never going to be a first team starter. He might start a few games, but he's going to be a bench player. If he goes to Newcastle or he goes to West Ham, he'd be one of their best players and he'd be a starter. And that's what Lingard needs to, find out what's more important to him. Is he happy to stay at United and be a bit part player, or does he want to be a first team player? But I think he'll sign the new contract at United in the belief that he can be a first team player. But I think also United players do need to be naive, whether you're thinking about leaving or whether you're thinking about signing a new contract. It's a big season for United, and there is an opportunity there if things go wrong that Ollie might not be in charge this time next year. And what does a new manager come in and think about your Lindelofs, your Delos, your Lingards, your Donnys? For some it might be a better future, for some it might be a worse. Mark, why not Pogba and Donny together in the pivot? I think Donny is world class in waiting and they could run riot with the midfield at Old Trafford. I don't think it works, Jack. I mean, obviously I do it on my FIFA career mode, but FIFA's very different to real life. I just don't think Pogba and Donny, you've got to have a Declan Rice, an Ndidi, a Fabinho, a Rodri, a Jorginho. You've got to have somebody who just says, this is my role, this is what I'm here to do. And I think in the higher levels of football, this is why people go and spend 50, 60, 70 million on specialists. It's a specialist position. It appalls me that United are trying to train people like McTominay or Fred or maybe even Pogba to become something that they're not. Fred's coming up for 29, isn't he? McTominay's coming up for 25. We're trying to teach them a job that they should have been learning at 17, 18, 19. I mean, Garner's just turned 20. He's basically playing as a CDM. He's learning that role. We're trying to teach people how to play a role in their mid to late 20s. It's just not good planning. It really isn't. Mark, we've done that one from Jack. Anyway, let me just talk about Sancho very quickly. I don't know whether you saw the game last night. 2 assists for Sancho. I thought Foden was on another planet. He was just so good. But I thought Sancho had a good game. Little bit of momentum for him. I thought he played quite well against Everton and he played well last night for England. I mean, look, it's a pub team that we beat. But it's good to see Sancho getting some minutes. That's the main reason I did the watch along for that game. It's good to see him getting some minutes. And look, I hope he's going to get more minutes in a Manchester United shirt. But yeah, I disagree with Roy Keane on the fact that, look, expectations at United are bigger. It's a harder job than Dortmund. I don't think it is. I think Dortmund have probably, arguably, succeeded better in the Champions League than we have over the last 5 years. So, it's the same tournament where we've struggled to qualify or even get out the group stage. Yet here, Dortmund has, consistently got into the knockout stages. So I don't think it's a step up at Manchester United. I really don't. Not in a playing sense. I think Dortmund have a better footballing style of play. And I think that, he's probably been trained better at Dortmund than he will be currently at Manchester United. So I don't think it's a step up in relation to tactical awareness or playing style. I think the step up is the size of the club. I think the step up is the scrutiny of playing for Manchester United, the pressure of playing for Manchester United. But I don't feel that Sancho's struggling under that. I just think he's come into the club and Ollie's not really picked him because he's not one of his favourites yet. You look with Rashford, there'll be no adjustment period. There'll be no, you've got to work your way into the team like there has been with Sancho. It'll be straight back into the team because Ollie trusts Rashford. Same as McTominay, same as Fred, same as Maguire, same as Greenwood. Ronaldo went straight into the team. Sancho, £74 million, for whatever reason, didn't go straight into the team. Ollie obviously doesn't trust him yet. And so I disagree with Roy a little bit that, he's not in the team because he's not at the level he needs to be yet. There are people who are getting picked in that team who are not playing particularly well. So I think Sancho just needs games. And we say this about Telles, we say it about Delo, we say it about Van der Beek. We're never going to understand how good they are unless we're willing to give them 3, 4, 5 games in a row. You can't just keep chucking them in for the odd game here or there or 20 minutes off the end. They've got to build rhythm, they've got to build patterns. But look, going back to what we were talking about at the start with Danny Blind, the issue that we have with Jadon Sancho and Cristiano Ronaldo and Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes especially is that I think you can put Rashford into any team, and because he's a flair fast player, he can hit long balls and he can still do stuff. Jadon Sancho needs ball to feet. He needs patterns of play. There needs to be pass and move. We're not doing that. I think Bruno and Pogba thrive off that, and we're not doing that either. So Sancho's future is very much dependent on the style of play, and it goes back to what we're talking about at the start. What is the style of play under United? You know, we're surviving on organisation, counter-attacking and individualism, and we'll still have a good season on that, but the tactics are poor. And Sancho is a footballer. You know, he's a footballer. He plays in a system, and we need to get that ball down and moving quicker, and you know, be more patient in the final third, and you know, actually have patterns of play that players understand what's going on. I think Roy meant that the pressure is bigger at United and just needs to adapt. In that case, I would actually agree. Pressure from our fan base is big, says Daniel Kirk. Yeah, look, of course that's correct, but I didn't actually pick up that that's what Roy meant. I think Roy was talking about, you know, the standard of football is bigger at Manchester United than it is at Dortmund, and I disagree with that. I think Dortmund are a better footballing side than we are. We've got the better players, and we probably should expect to beat Dortmund, but you know, I think Dortmund would be another club that had come to Old Trafford and, you know, play better football, which is what we saw with Villarreal. So, you know, but I don't think Sancho's under pressure. I don't think he's under pressure. I think the United fan base have been brilliant with Sancho. I don't see anybody listening to rival clubs calling him a flop. I think United fans are very patient with Sancho because I think everyone expected with Sancho that he wasn't going to necessarily hit the ground running. So I don't think Sancho's under any pressure. I really don't. And I think he's been well and will be well protected by the fan base. I just think the issue with Sancho is that Ollie doesn't trust him yet, and that's why he's not started many games. I don't think Ollie should listen to the only Dutch manager in history of Holland who couldn't qualify for the Euros and then the World Cup. He's a joke, says Robert McCormack. Well, Robert, I mean, look, it's one person's opinion, but I think the very interesting thing about Danny Blind and what he said, Robert, is it echoes massively what loads of people are saying, whether it's the media, whether it's our own ex-players, whether it's you, the fans. He's hit the nail on the head with about 5 or 6 different points, which I normally wouldn't bring that into a show, but I just thought it was very interesting how he, you know, succinctly broke down many issues at United about style of play, about lack of identity, about you know, relying on individualism, and, you know, surviving because of his history with the club. Thanks, Mark. I agree it is a specialist role, says Jack, but Donny has the potential to be that specialist. The fact that he can't even audition has me Ollie out. Well, it was the last international break, Jack, wasn't it, when Donny did the interview and his agent came out as well and basically said, you know, I can play the 6. I think he's just desperate to be given a chance at Manchester United. Nick P says, I watched McTominay yesterday for Scotland. He played in a 3-man defence and was taking corners. It just feels like no one trusts him in one position, says Nick P. Look, for me, Scott McTominay, there's this perception that I don't rate McTominay. I don't rate him as a player in a midfield with Fred. I see McFred as an entity which involves 2 players. McTominay, the individual, I'm still to be convinced, but I think he's a fantastic player to have on your bench because he can come on and do a few jobs for you. But I don't see him as a starter. I've never seen any quality in him that he's a player that you pick in your team and you go and win a title. And let's not forget, we're talking about the engine room. We're talking about the midfield. You know, right back, left back, important, but you're not in the game as much. Midfield. We're picking our 2, you know, most inconsistent performers in the most important area of the pitch. We've got world-class centre-backs. We've got brilliant full-backs. We've got a world-class goalkeeper. We've got one of the best strikers in the world. We've got some really exciting top-class attacking talent. But in the midfield, they're our 2 weakest players, to be honest. And it's the most important area. So look, maybe McTominay will have a future, but I think it's what we need to do is start assessing McTominay as Scott McTominay and assessing Fred as Fred. Unfortunately, they've become this one entity of McFred because they always play together, and that's the thing that needs to stop. Break it apart, and then we can analyse the individuals. 2 assists for Jadon Sancho last night, says Daniel Kirk. Yeah, and I think the pundits like Neville and Keane are never going to put pressure on Solskjaer because he was their teammate. If this were any other manager, they would have done it a long time ago, says Iron. I'm telling you now, you're absolutely spot on. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was called Jose Mourinho, it would have already started at a very, very, very deep level. But, you know, That was mentioned in the article by Danny Blind. It's been mentioned by many people that Ollie is obviously protected because of the history that he's got, and a lot of us like it. Spain versus France tonight, Alex. Yes, we will be doing the United Stand show tonight, but instead of the 8 o'clock show, we'll be doing this at 7 o'clock because obviously a lot of people want to watch the Spain versus France game, which kicks off, I think, at 7:45. So we'll be live at 7 o'clock with the 7 o'clock panel tonight, which I will be chairing. Looking forward to that. 7 o'clock show tonight for the 8 o'clock show. So 7 o'clock, an hour early. I've got no interest in the Nations Cup. I've got to be honest with you. I think it's a bag of shite, but it's interesting. It's a shame De Gea's not playing in goal for Spain. I don't really know what that's all about, but there you go. Anyway, look, thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I've also dropped a link in the video description for my Driving with Paul Ince video. Very good Sunday viewing if you've got a bit of half an hour that you want to watch it. So make sure you check out that through the link in the video description. Thanks everybody again for watching. Big, massive shout out to Tyson Fury. What a fight that was. Really enjoyed the watch along as well. Thanks everyone who tuned in for that. And I hope you have a good Sunday. I'll speak to you at 7 o'clock tonight. And take care. And I'll speak to you in a bit.